Have you ever really stopped to think about what it means to own land? We usually imagine it's this total, absolute thing. But what if I told you that, particularly in a place like Sri Lanka, that whole idea is more of a myth than a reality? Let's dig in and find out why. All right, so let's just start with a super direct question. You have the deed, you've paid for it, it is your land. So can you do whatever you want with it? Build a giant skyscraper, start digging for treasure, keep absolutely everyone out no matter what? It kind of feels like the answer should be a simple yes, doesn't it? Well, as you might have guessed, the law has a very different answer. We're going to use this legal text from the Open University of Sri Lanka as our guide today to explore why land ownership is so much more complicated and honestly, way more interesting than you probably think. Okay, first things first, let's talk about that traditional idea of ownership, the one that makes us all feel like the king or queen of our own little castle. This ancient Roman legal idea, it just perfectly captures that feeling, right? This sense of absolute power. Your land stretches all the way up into the sky and all the way down to the center of the earth. It's a really powerful concept, and it's what most of us have in our heads when we think about ownership. But as we're about to find out, it's a long, long way from the legal reality. So, before we can even get into the limits on owning something, we have to figure out what land actually is in the eyes of the law. And believe me, it is a whole lot more than just the dirt under your feet. So, legally speaking, land isn't just soil. It's the physical ground, sure, but it's also the buildings on it, the trees growing out of it, even the minerals that might be underneath it. And on top of all that, it also includes a whole set of abstract rights that can be inherited. The law calls these hereditaments. And these hereditaments basically come in two flavors. You've got your corporeal hereditaments, that's the physical stuff you can actually see and touch, like a house or a field. But then you've got incorporeal hereditaments. These are the abstract rights you can't see, like the right to use a path that cuts across your neighbor's property. And guess what? Both of these are considered part of the land by the law. Okay, so if land is more than just dirt, what does it really mean to own it? Well, Roman Dutch law, which is a huge influence on Sri Lankan law, breaks it down into three core rights. Ownership is really built on these three pillars. First, you've got the right to possess your land, to hold it and control it. Second, you have the right to use and enjoy it. And third, you have the right to alienate it, which is just a fancy way of saying you can sell it, gift it, or transfer it to somebody else. These three are the fundamental building blocks of ownership. A really great way to visualize this is the bundle of sticks analogy. Just imagine your ownership is a bundle of three sticks. One is for possession, one is for use, and one is for alienation. When you have total ownership, you're holding that entire bundle. It's a simple, clear picture. But this is where things start to get really interesting. And here it is. This is the part where that whole king of the castle idea starts to crumble. Because the law doesn't just hand you this bundle of rights and walk away. It also holds the power to take some of those sticks back. Let's see how. So this is the crucial point, right? Your bundle of sticks, it isn't guaranteed. Different laws and regulations can essentially reach in and pull individual sticks out of your bundle. Sometimes it's temporary, sometimes it's permanent, and it's almost always in the name of the public good. Let's start with the most basic stick in the bundle, the right to possess your land. You'd think this one is untouchable, but it's not. The Land Acquisition Act, for instance, lets the government take your private land for a public purpose, like building a new road or a school. The state can literally remove that possession stick from your bundle. Now, you'll typically get paid for it, but your absolute right is gone. So what about keeping people off your property? That feels pretty fundamental, right? Well, even that right has its limits. Under the Antiquities Ordinance, officials can come onto your land to check for historical monuments. And the Electricity Act, it lets utility workers come onto your property to put up power lines. So your right to tell people to get off your lawn isn't as absolute as you'd think. And how about using your land however you want? Remember that idea of digging all the way down to hell? Well, the Mines and Minerals Act says that all those valuable minerals, think gems, graphite, that kind of thing, they belong to the Republic, not to you. And planning laws can tell you exactly what kind of building you can or cannot put up. So much for that skyscraper idea. Now, to add one last layer of complexity here, the law makes this really important distinction between owning something and simply possessing it. And trust me, they are not the same thing at all.
Just think about it for a second. A landlord owns an apartment, but it's the tenant who possesses it, right? A squatter might be physically on a piece of land. They possess it, but they definitely don't own it. The law has totally different rules and rights for each of those situations.
So the key difference boils down to this. Ownership is de jure. It's a legal right that exists on paper. Possession, on the other hand, is de facto. It's about the physical, factual control on the ground. Understanding this difference is absolutely crucial in a ton of land disputes.
Okay, so we've kind of chipped away at this big idea of absolute ownership. Where does that leave us? What's the big picture here?
At the end of the day, the big takeaway is that land ownership isn't some single, all-powerful right. It's a really complex bundle of rights, and every single one of those rights can be limited or modified. The law is constantly trying to perform this balancing act between the rights of an individual owner and the needs of the wider community, whether that's for new roads, preserving history, or public utilities. It's a super delicate balance, and it's always being shaped by history and the demands of modern life.
And that really leaves us with a final, much bigger question. It's not just about law anymore, it's almost philosophical. Where do you draw the line? How much should one person's right to their castle be protected when the community needs a road, a power line, or a new school? There's no easy answer here, but understanding the legal framework, well, that's the first step. Thanks for tuning in.